guys, and welcome to my channel. I am so happy that you're joining me today because I am going to share some very valuable information with you. I am going to share with you some of my top tips and tricks to having a very well-planned Walt Disney World vacation so that it can actually be magical for you rather than miserable. So through the years, I have learned a lot of things about traveling to Disney, and I thought that today it would be fun to share with you some of the things that I have learned along the way. So I really hope that you are going to take my advice and put some of these things into place for your upcoming trip, because I really think that you will find it to be most helpful. So I'm just going to jump right into it because there are a lot of things that I want to talk about with you guys today so that your Disney trip can just be wonderful and amazing and you can make those family memories that last a lifetime. All right, so let's get started. The number one thing that I am going to be talking about is I really think that it is super duper important to have a plan when you go to Disney. You definitely need a plan. Make sure that you book those fast passes and you book your dining and you have everything in place. That is super important. So many people neglect to do this and they think they'll figure it out when they get there, and they're waiting on the longest lines and they can't get into a restaurant, and these are the people that come home from their Walt Disney World trips and say they're never gonna go again. And it's because there was no plan in place. But in addition to that, now this is the big part, and this is the part that I really have to work on myself so hard. Like, I really need to work on this part. But that is to be flexible and be okay if you need to divert from the plan, because almost all of the time, every single day that you have planned out perfectly to the minute, and I've been there, done that, I've even had bathroom breaks scheduled into the day, you're not going to be able to stick to that plan 100%. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with needing to cancel dining last minute because your child's just too tired and cranky. You're gonna have to be okay with maybe missing a fast pass because you have to go back to the hotel earlier than you had anticipated because people are just conking out and they can't do anymore. You have to be okay with that. And for many years, I have had the hardest time with this. Don't let that destroy your vacation. Don't let that become a fight with other members of your family or with your group of friends. Be flexible and be willing to divert from the plan that you had worked so hard to put in place. My next tip is going to be take a break. Whether you are needing to sleep in one day or you're going back to the resort for a mid-afternoon break, it is so important to take a break. And I have gone to Disney many years where we opened the park and we stayed until closing, and a couple of days into the trip, I cannot even tell you the ridiculousness of our adult behavior, okay? Because back then I didn't even have children and I would travel with other adults, and by day 3 we were all so snippy and so cranky and just exhausted. It's pure exhaustion. And Disney is a lot of walking. You're usually very hot or you're challenged by the rain. There's like so many things going on. It's very overstimulating, especially for children, with the noises and the lights and the fireworks and the shows. And as wonderful as all of those things are, you cannot hit it hard from morning till night. And if you do, it's going to catch up with you. So I highly, highly recommend going back to the resort for a mid-afternoon break. This is something that we have been doing for a long time now, and it is a game changer. Now, I usually make everyone get up and out super early in the morning, and that part can be really hard, especially if you're dealing with toddlers or teens, especially the teens. They do not want to get up early and go to the parks, but the parks are so bearable in the morning. Like, the crowd level is so minimal. You're just kind of walking onto the rides. The lines are pretty short still, but by 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, you will see I would say the crowds almost double in size. It's insane. And that's usually around the time that we go back to the resort for lunch and a pool break. So if you can get up and out early, really take advantage of those morning hours. I get to the park about 45 minutes before it actually opens because, pro tip, they usually start letting you in before the official opening time. If they're opening at 9 o'clock in the morning, usually by like 8:30-ish, they're starting to bring the crowds in, and so it's really, really important to get there early and then go back and have a nice afternoon break, maybe take a nap, especially if you have little ones. Let them go back and nap and go to the pool, shower, and then head back for an early dinner, and you're refreshed and feeling great for all of the exciting evening things that they have, the fireworks and the parades. All of that stuff can be missed if you try to make it to the end and then you conk out early because you just can't make it because you just drove everyone into the ground. Something else that can go wrong and will go wrong and has almost always gone wrong for me on my Disney trips is unpredictable weather. Florida weather can be crazy. In November, the anticipated weather was like in the high 70s, but when I got there, it changed to be in the low 40s. So thank goodness I was prepared for that, and I had my ski jacket and I had gloves. People were buying scarves and hats. It was so cold. You just never know what Florida weather is going to bring. If you're going in the summertime, in all likelihood, not only is it going to be very hot, but you're also going to see a lot of rain. So make sure you're prepared for this crazy weather. Make sure you have a rain jacket or a poncho, umbrella, a couple of pairs of shoes in case your sneakers get really wet. I've been there as well. You know, make sure you have backup shoes so that when you are all wet and soggy, you have something to change into later in the day, especially for your kids, because they're going to be miserable if they're wearing wet shoes. So keep an eye on the weather and make sure that you're prepared for anything to happen in Disney, because it really stinks if you're there and you don't have the appropriate wardrobe and then you have to buy all of this really, really expensive stuff that you're probably only going to use for that period of time. So in the hotter months, you want to make sure that you have your sunglasses, your sunscreen, a hat, weather wicking tops, those cooling towels. They also have fans that you can keep in your backpack. Some of them have a spray bottle attached to it. Just do whatever it takes to keep cool. You don't want anyone having heat exhaustion. Make sure that you stay hydrated. Bring refillable water bottles if you don't want to carry around those plastic water bottles all the time. That can be really heavy on your back. I learned that the hard way. And if you go to Starbucks or any counter service place, they will give you a cup of ice water if you ask for it. It's not going to be a charge, so that's great to know too. Definitely be prepared for those really hot months over the summer. My next tip, and this is one that my teenage daughter gave me, and it was prompted by a situation that we had on our last trip, and that is to not have high expectations. This is coming from my daughter Emily. She is 16 years old. She said that my expectations are way too high and I get overly dramatic when things go wrong, I guess, is what she is telling me. And it's true. I have such high expectations when we go to Disney. If you are new to my channel, if you want to go back and see all of the videos that I've had just for our upcoming trip, from packing videos to what the itinerary is going to be to what I'm wearing, like, I like to really over plan my trips, because for me, that is like one of the most exciting and fun parts. To me, that is a huge part of the vacation itself, is planning it. So I'm overly excited about the planning part of it. But what comes along with that are high expectations that everything is going to go just so. And back to my number one tip, you know, you have your game plan and you have high hopes that you're going to follow through with everything on your, I call it now, like my wish list of things that I would like to do in a day. And I need to be okay with not doing it all, and I need to be okay with cranky teenagers who just want to like have a bottle of water and go back to the hotel and relax for a little bit when I am like in go mode and I want to go on one more ride, or I want to check out this specific restaurant, or I want to go over here because I want to have this snack. Like, I have so many things that I want to do, and I have to realize everyone is not like me. I am a little bit crazy in Disney. There are so many things that I want to do every time I go, and I really have to like calm down a little bit when I'm there with my family, because I have to realize that we're not all on the same page, and that's okay. But again, back to my number one tip, be flexible. Don't expect so much from your trip that when something goes wrong, you're going to just fall apart. And I did have a couple of days like that where when something went wrong, instead of just kind of going with the flow and making the best of it, I went full on into tears, having a meltdown like a child. And it's just, I'm embarrassed by it. It's so ridiculous, and I'm so sorry for it, and I'm regretful of it. So hopefully this will help you in realizing not to have such high expectations that you're gonna let yourself fall apart like a little baby if it goes wrong. My next tip to you is to do your research. And I cannot emphasize this enough, because if you're new to my channel, I specialize in planning Walt Disney World vacations. This is what I do, okay? And I still messed up because I did not look for up-to-date information like the day before. Usually a week in advance, I have my whole itinerary binder and everything all set, and I try to remind myself to double check on times and things like that, but I didn't. And one of my favorite things to do was closed for refurbishment, and I like fell apart when we got to the park. If you guys have been watching my vlogs, you may have already seen the moment, but I love the Beauty and the Beast show at Hollywood Studios. And when I got there, it was closed, and first of all, I felt like such a failure in my job, because I'm like, how did I not know this? And what if I did this to a client? Like, that would be so horrible if they were anticipating doing something on an itinerary that I planned and prepared for them, and unknowingly, here I am at Hollywood Studios, and the signs in front of me closed for refurbishments, and I just felt like, wow. Such bad planning on my part. Just make sure you know the show times of the things that you want to see. Make sure that you know of ride closures in case somebody in your party is really looking forward to a specific ride and then you get there to find out that it's closed down. That's super disappointing. Make sure, again, you check on the weather, anticipated weather for the week, all that stuff. Also, when doing your research, look into the high crowd levels for certain times of year, because something that a lot of people may not take into consideration when they are planning their trip are things like the Run Disney races that bring thousands and thousands of people into Walt Disney World. When we went on our last trip, we arrived on the last day of the race, and the traffic getting into the parks was insane. I think it took us about 45 minutes to get into the Magic Kingdom by the Disney transportation bus. So that is definitely something that you might want to take into consideration when you're planning your trip, in addition to obviously like holiday times and holiday weekends and spring break, stuff like that. The crowd levels are always going to be super high. But if that's something that you're trying to avoid, you can certainly go to, there's a lot of really great sites. Touringplans.com is really my go-to site for crowd tracking and putting together great plans and things like that. I'll leave links below for anything that I have found helpful in the past. There's also allears.net. There's a lot of really great websites out there that can help you to plan your Walt Disney World trip. And in addition to that, I have to add on, if you are, especially if you are new at planning a Walt Disney World trip, but even if you are a pro, I highly recommend using a travel planner like myself. I am not even kidding. Even though I have traveled to Disney so many times, I still always used a travel agency in the past, because they will get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and book your dining 180 days in advance to the second. They will make sure that you get your fast passes in 60 days in advance, and they have, or I should say, I have a whole system to it and how I do it and how I make sure that people get on those headliner rides. So it just really takes a lot of the anxiety out of the planning process if you kind of have someone to guide you and to lean on throughout the entire thing, because a Disney vacation is not like a normal beach vacation where you just show up and lay out in the sun and swim. There really is a lot of structure and planning to it if you want it to go smoothly. And I really, really want people to enjoy their Disney trips, especially the first time, because so many people go once and it's one and done because they did it the wrong way. Okay, my next tip is to try something that scares you. And this is a lot coming from me because I am such a scaredy cat with rides, but the rides in Disney are not really rides. They are experiences. They are very immersive. They bring you into a story, and even if there is a little bit of a fear factor there, like Tower of Terror, which I am terrified of, there is such a great storyline to go along with it, especially if you've never done it before. I would have to say you need to try everything at least once. Just breathe through it on your first trip and see all of this stuff. There are certain rides that I did a really long time ago and I was fearful of going on them again, but after time, I really wanted to be a part of that story again. I really wanted to experience being immersed in that ride. So most recently, there are a few things that I kind of got brave and I did again. And I was like, wow, I've been missing out on that all these years. It's not as scary as I remember it being. Splash Mountain being one of them. Always scared to go on it. I have this fear of drops, which is why Tower of Terror totally puts me over the edge. You can pretty much do anything to me. You can flip me upside down and, high and all kinds of stuff. You can flip me all over the place, but you can't drop me. Just do not drop me. That feeling in my stomach, that feeling of just falling freaks me out. And for that reason, I stopped going on Splash Mountain until my little daughter Madison found it to be her favorite ride and was begging me to go on with her. And I'm like, these are her childhood memories. I need to be a part of them. I am gonna step up and I'm gonna do this. And now it's one of my favorite rides. And I am kind of regretful that I've gone all those years without going on it because I had this fear. Tower of Terror, different for me. I'm still scared to go on that again, but I would still say if you have those fears and you have not yet done it, just force yourself to do it, because you just might surprise yourself and realize it's one of your favorite things ever in the park. So be brave, do it all at least one time, and I guarantee you, you will not regret it. I feel like this video is going to be at least a half an hour long, and I still have so much more that I could share and say, but I feel like I need to wrap it up. If you're still here, leave a comment below and just say hey, I made it to the end, because I feel like this has gone way too long. But I want to end this video with something that I have learned over the years, and my final tip to you guys is to always assume that you will be going back. Never assume that it is your last Walt Disney World trip. Every time I go to Disney, it's the last time ever. And now that I am actually DVC, that helped to relieve that pressure a little bit, because now I know I have points to use, so I kind of have to go back. But prior to that, I always had this burden of, what if this is the last time I can get the family on board with going to Walt Disney World? What if this is the last time that we're going to be making these memories? So I would be in such fear of never coming back that I made it high priority to do every single thing on my plan. And really, in the end, that just kind of ruined the experience for everyone, because it was so forced and structured, and there was so little flexibility that the kids really weren't even having fun. I was just dragging them from ride to ride to ride, and they were exhausted, and they were, constantly falling asleep in their strollers, on the bus. I just really dragged them into the ground, and I am regretful for the times that I have done that. And I just hope that you guys can take a little bit from what I've experienced in the past and maybe not do that to your children or your family or your friends or whoever you're traveling with. I know it's so exciting to go to Walt Disney World, and it's hard to kind of ground yourself and pull yourself back a little bit when you want to just do it all and see it all. I totally get that, because that's still how I am. I've been to Disney so many times, and I just can't get rid of that excitement that I have, because it's such a magical place. You are in the Disney bubble. It is this fantasy world, and it just feels like everything's perfect and wonderful when I'm in Disney. So I want to do it all, see it all, experience it all. But tell yourself you can do it on the next trip. Tell yourself there will be a next time. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you found this at least entertaining, hopefully helpful in some way. If you haven't subscribed, I would love to have you as a subscriber. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and also hit the bell notification so that I can update you when I do share a new video. I have done a lot of other Disney videos in the past. I've done a lot of resort tours and vlogs and Disney planning, so I hope that if you find this video informative, maybe you'll go back and check out some of my older videos as well. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you real soon. Bye.